Welcome to Ellie Chat. Your home for exclusive news and commentary on the internet's only podcast about Candlepin bowling. Brought to you by the Lords of Candlepin, Frank DeLuca and Rich Lamoni. Email the show at alleychat.frankface.net. Now broadcasting from the heart of the Bay State, the host of Alley Chat, Frank Face.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Alley Chat. My name is Frank Face. We are here with episode number, who knows? We're trucking along. But anyhow, I'm here with my co-host Kyle Bruce and Rich Lamoni. We have two very special guests tonight. We have Brian Fournier and Mike Miccichi, who are running the Malden Summer Doubles League. This is a very popular league within the summertime, and I think we're maxed out at teams. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, at 18.
Wow, okay. So tell us a little bit about the league. Format, how it runs, cost, all that fun stuff. We're going to go over some teammates and make some predictions and stuff like that. So, B, we'll start with you.
All right, Frank. We started this league. We started running it. Me, Rich, Frank, and Mike all started running this league about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now. When we took it over, it was almost dead.
Yeah, it was suffering.
8 teams was the first year that I took this league in, and didn't think I was going to do it. And luckily, the guys at Malden that run the place, Dan Ryan, Glenn Ringdahl, convinced me. They donated some money to the prize fund to help me make 8 teams worth running that league for. And I said, I'll give it a shot, see how things go, and if I can't improve it the next year, I don't know what's going to happen. And luckily...
The next year was last year.
Last year, we bumped right up to 18 teams, which is an amazing turnaround. This league hasn't had 18 teams almost 12 years since the last time this league has had that much. A guy named Tony Dentamaro used to run this league. He ran it for about 15 years, maybe a little bit more. I could be wrong. It started out where it was a full house. All 22 lanes would go.
Wow.
That was fantastic. You always had 22 teams. The tough thing was with 22 teams is you don't bowl everybody once.
That's true.
It was always 6 teams that you potentially didn't bowl.
And if you had a lane breakdown, you're in trouble.
That too. Tony did a pretty good job running it. There were a few things that he struggled with. He didn't really like to make adjustments to the bowlers. He's a great person, don't get me wrong. I don't mean to bash Tony. It just, generally it was a very top-heavy league.
Okay.
First place, would always pretty much be $1,200 to $1,300 per man. And,
wow.
You go down to last place, and you're lucky if you're taking home $25. So what would happen is you'd be 9-10 weeks into the season, you'd lose a team or two because they know that they're only going to get $20-25 at the end of the year, and there's no shot of them getting into the top 8 or whatever. But it slowly depleted itself. Tony gave it up. The bowling alley asked me to take over, and from there we worked hard. We talked to the bowlers. That was the big thing.
I think we kind of we had those open meetings prior to starting bowling. Everybody kind of had a say on what they were looking for, what they wanted. They made suggestions. We listened to everybody. One of the biggest suggestions was being the changing of the handicap. Yep. It used to be a 100% handicap league. And what did we take it down to, 85 or so?
Yep, brought it 85%. It's amazing what 15% can do to change a league, because the 100% was not working. It was keeping all those good bowlers that wanted to bowl in Malden away, and we just didn't have that opportunity to bring them in, because at the time when you only have 8 teams, those 8 teams that are there are the ones that have been bowling there for a long time. And they just didn't want, they didn't want to change either. It took some persuading, and we managed to get, I think, 6 of the teams to change their mind. And then once we brought everyone else in and there was a majority, the other 2 guys that were on the fence just said, "Oh, that's fine. We'll go with the 85%." And
Sure.
Do you have that based on a 130?
No, it's just based on so when we set the
or
league
the high
up,
average in the league?
it's set up as a team average.
I think it was 240, wasn't it?
No, we went higher than that because of Boudreaux being a 130 bowler. We had to go higher.
Right.
I believe I went either 250 or 260. So every team will get a handicap based off of 260.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So if you took 230, to that 260, 30 pins, whatever 85% of 30 pins is.
Right.
That's how we handled that. Frank was a huge help in gathering bowlers from when he had bowled in Woburn. He brought a bunch of people that used to bowl at Woburn Speed League over and really helped us out.
Yeah, also a good league. Good house.
Rich has been amazing as well, helping us out. He's the treasurer for this league. He, another league officer. And again, he helped me restore this league. And, our newest member is Mike Miccichi, just joining league officers this year. Is going to help do the stats this year as well. And it took a lot of work to get this back to where it needs to be.
I think the big key, and it's something that I'm taking from Frank and Brian, is that we nip the issue in the bud. As soon as something comes up, a decision's made. When there was an issue last year. And I think the bowlers really appreciated it because everyone in the league knew by the time the night was over, whatever the issue was, it was resolved. We may not have made the right decision, but at least we could have a discussion after the decision was over and say, okay, well, we learned from this. How do we avoid this next year? So I think there was an issue where we ran into the situation where there was going to be 2 subs for a team. And so the problem is people come up to each of the officers and have a conversation, and I hadn't had a chance to talk to Frank and Brian, so they were like, can we bowl? And I was like, I don't think it's an issue. If 2 bowlers didn't show up, they were supposed to get a 0 box. I mean, 0 score because both bowlers from a team weren't there. So I thought having the 2 subs would be better until I spoke to Frank and Brian after the fact, and we made a decision, told them they couldn't bowl. And then now we can write it in the rules moving forward. This is what this is how it works.
Just to clarify on Rich's, what we mean by that, what happens is if a team doesn't show up, the other team doesn't automatically take every game. They have to bowl against the team that they're bowling against minus 10 pins. So whatever the handicap is, and that you minus the 10 pins, and that's where we stay at. And so, for instance, if the teams were equal and they were both 240 averages, that team, let's just, for instance, I believe that night it was supposed to be Mark Ricci against Al Pecora's team at that time. And let's just say they were both 240s. I know they weren't, but what would happen is that Ricci's team would only have to beat a 230 in that situation, opposed to having to beat a 240. So you don't automatically get 7 points for just
right. You still have to show up and bowl.
You still have to show up bowl.
Right.
And pre-bowls ultimately were an issue for a lot of the people in the league. So, we had a vote the last night of the season and said, this is something we want to implement moving forward. How do you feel? Are we okay with pre-bowls, or would you prefer just pre-matches? So as long as, I think we agreed, as long as one of the bowlers shows up, you don't have to do the entire match. Is that correct? If you do a pre-match?
It's something we're going to discuss before the night starts. I have no problem with one, as long as one person from each team bowls against that person. I have no problem with that. I'd prefer it to be 2-on-2, just be a regular match.
And just be done with it, right.
So we'll take a vote on that at the beginning of the year. We'll talk to the bowlers and see what their decision is. Something else I want to get Mike in to talk about, because he was a big help with this as well. Last year was, a year and a half ago beforehand, was opening the league up to women bowlers as well. Mike, if you want to elaborate on that.
When I was thinking about the league as a whole, I realized that, there's so many great women bowlers out there, and when you hold this league to just men, you're missing out on that aspect of women bowlers. Luckily, last year we were able to have Maria Mazzarella and Sonia Hutchinson bowl, and this year we have Kayla Croto. And if we go up one every year, have one women bowler every year, I mean, we're We're doing something for the women bowlers of Candlepin.
Well, if I might interject, Mike, if I remember correctly, the two teams with women on them last year placed highest.
They did.
Didn't Brando and Sonia win it?
They won first.
They did.
And Maria and Don were
Second
place. So
tied. Actually,
Okay.
it just head to head. Brandon had head to head overall tiebreak over them. So
and head to head is not pinfall. It's record.
record,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And we can't run into any ties because it's a 7-point total. So we're lucky in that aspect. That
Well, you
if
could
we have a
tie
head-to-head,
pinfall completely, but
3.5 and a 3.5, I guess.
if you tie one string.
So and Mike,
Let's not let that happen.
You know, what's also good is, you made that suggestion, and it was a great suggestion, and we were still at 100% handicap then. So there was, if I could understand if it was a scratch league, you tried to get women in when it was 100% handicap.
Right.
There was no reason not to have women increase the number of bowlers in the league.
yeah, that was just like I said a year and a half ago when Mike had mentioned that was a big suggestion. The funny thing is that we had voted on that actually at the end of the year. We took a little ballot out when it was. I mean, there was only 16 of us, but we took a little ballot out. I wrote out a little ballot for things that I thought needed improving on and voted on, and that was one of the subjects which, interestingly enough, did pass, obviously, because we opened it up the next year. But it was closer than I thought, which I thought was a little wrong at first, because, and I don't know if that's because they maybe, whether they thought that the handicap was going to change or they would be giving too many pins because they were thinking it was only going to be like 70 average women bowlers coming in, even though maybe a lot of people just don't realize that there are top tier women bowlers.
Oh, there absolutely are. I wish more of them were local. That way we could get them into the league.
I just wish more of them would bowl, period.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is suffering. The game is suffering in that respect.
Wish more men would bowl, period.
Yeah.
Increase is increase, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That's what this game needs. We just need more increase, more. Everybody should be able to join a league and be a part of it.
And speaking of that, there seemed to be a lot of interest in the league this year. Did everybody who wants in get a team, or
pretty much?
We don't have to mention any names, but
I did have to turn. I did turn one team away, and the situation with that got a little complicated. What we had done is we offered, obviously, anyone that bowled last year was in, and then after that, anyone with a new partner had the ability to accept a team.
Right.
And I had a team on the waiting list that I was ready to invite in. One bowler had said that they couldn't bowl, and then they said that so I didn't know if they had another partner or not. Which ended up being mute anyway, because Sammy D'Agostino actually ended up partnering with John Zappi, and which nullified that because Sammy bowled the whole year last year,
so
he ends up having first dibs at the new spot. So yeah, I do feel bad that I couldn't get that other team in there, but again, by what we wrote and what we put on, as how we were going to do this and how we were going to let teams in the league. That's just the way it rolled. Is unfortunately Sammy bowled the whole year last year. I'm not turning, not to say to turn down anyone, but he bowled last year. I gave him first dibs because he bowled last year.
Yeah, of course, that's the way it was written down. So
I obviously could have increased to more teams. Again, the tough thing with this league is that I really enjoy the everybody bowls each other once.
Sure.
And when you go above 18 teams in the summer, it's almost impossible because we're already doing a double match. We're already, we do a Sunday match to add on to our Wednesday league just to fill in that extra week. And this year we have to talk about trying to find 2 extra matches this year because of the crazy winter we had, unfortunately. And now it's, I've had a couple suggestions that, we're going to talk to everyone about the first week of the season. One of the suggestions was that we bowl 10 strings on July 26th, which is our scheduled double match day. And, but, John Zappi actually had recommended to me that could be tough. He goes, if you have anybody that has to miss that day, now you're missing 10 strings opposed to just 5.
Right.
And when he said that, I kind of sat back, took it in for a few minutes, and then I thought about it, and I was like, he's right. We have to consider that as no team should have to miss a bowler for 10 games.
Right, of course not.
So the other possibility now is to either have you pre-bowl your very last match, figure out a date from whatever it is to I'll figure out what date it's going to be, whether it's the first week of August or whatever, have it completed by then, or bowl the last Sunday of August as an extra match too, and go from there. We're just going to have to vote and see. And like I said, so as much as I want to increase the league to 20, it's just everyone would have to agree at the end of this year to want to do that if we were going to do that the following year.
Yeah, it's a pretty big commitment. So
I don't want to increase to more than 20 because if we ever had a lane breakdown,
like we were saying before,
there just isn't enough lanes to do that.
Would be disastrous.
And then if you have to wait for somebody to finish, then now you're running into starting at like 10 o'clock, and you don't want to do that.
Also, Malden in the summer closes at 10,
so near impossible.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We'll be back with more from Brian Fournier, Mike Miccichi, Rich Lamoni, and Kyle Bruce, and of course me. We're going to go over teams and talk about some predictions for next year.
Friday Pro League Rundown.
What's up, everyone? This is Frank Face with the Friday Pro League Rundown for your final regulation week. In week 33, we have Woburn 1, 6, Riverwalk 2, Woburn 2, 0, Lucky Strike 8, Academy 2, 8, Metro 1, 0, Ron's Ice Cream 6, Malden 2, 2, Academy 1, 0, Academy 3, 8, Norwood 2, Malden 1, 6, Central Park 6, Metro 2, 2. This week's 400 series include Mike Morgan at 400, Sean Baker 401, John McDonald 402, Brandon Marks 413, Mark Strandro 417, Matt Penkel at 426, Dave Chesterco 437, and Al Kessick of Metro 2 had the week's high series at 442. Matty Penkel had the high single at 162. Your standings are in first place, Lucky Strike 214, Academy 2 204, Central Park Lanes 197, Academy 3 173, in fifth place 20th Century 168, Ron's Ice Cream 159, Malden 1 151, Academy 1 145, ninth place is Metro 2 at 142, Riverwalk 128, Metro 1 107, 12th place is Norwood at 107, Woburn 2 89, Woburn 1 60, and in 15th place Malden 2 at 58. Week 34 position week matchups are Academy 2 at Lucky Strike Lanes, Academy 3 at Central, Ron's Ice Cream at 20th Century, Academy 1 at Malden 1, Riverwalk at Metro 2, Norwood at Metro 1, Woburn 1 at Woburn 2, and Malden 2 is at Woburn 1. Woburn 2 is bowling against Woburn 1's scores. This is Frank Face, and that's the Friday Pro League Rundown. All right, everybody, we're back with the runners, or the chiefs of the Malden Summer Doubles League. We're with Brian Fournier, Mike Miccichi, Rich Lamoni, and of course Kyle Bruce and I are your lovely hosts. Rich Lamoni's a host, an honorary host, but he's also involved in this league, running this league. And we're going to go over the teams. There's 18 teams. We're going to discuss who the teams are, and we're going to give all of you a preview or what we think will be our top three guys. You want to say? Yeah. So let's see, Brian, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So team one is my teammate on Friday nights, Bobby Doherty Sr. His partner is Tony Anello, who is also sub for us this year on Friday nights.
He's also Doc Emmett Brown.
Yes, his hair does look like it's Doc Brown.
Unfortunately, no, we're requiring something better. Okay,
We'll have to send Kyle a picture of Tony at some point to show.
Because he is rich and powerful and married to your mother.
You got to see him, Kyle. You're going to love him.
Yeah.
Tony is pretty much a house bowler at Malden.
Well,
he only
really
bowls in the summer.
Exactly. I was going to say he doesn't really pick up a ball.
The amazing thing about him is that he literally only bowls 16 weeks out of the year, and he still seems to maintain a 116 average.
Well, even last year, though, he started the first 9 or 10 weeks at a 120.
Yeah.
He was on fire.
And they're one of the more dangerous teams in this league. The one thing I will say is that in the last 5 or 6 years that this league has been run, I don't think they finished lower than third. And the past 3 years before this, I don't think they finished lower than second before last year. They'd only finished lower than second. They're a very tough team to bowl. I think they're just the right combination of, Bobby's about a 121 in the summer, roughly. He's struggling a little bit right now for us in in Malden right now, but he's starting to pick it up the last few weeks. He's been bowling pretty well.
Yeah, he's been bowling great.
Usually in Malden, you can expect a 121 average or higher from Bobby usually. And he just, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. He just seems to come right out of the gate at you every week. And, it's just tough to come back once he does that, because as soon as he's on a roll, he just buries you.
Yeah, kind of gets in the zone.
I feel like now I've seen him bowl year round. I feel like he throws so many more strikes during the summer than he does during the year. Just feel like I see him throw doubles left and right during the summer.
Are you talking Bobby or
Yeah,
Tony?
Bobby.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant Tony.
Tony definitely throws more strikes during the summer than he does in the winter.
Well played.
Good
Yeah,
good
I guess
analysis.
Tony doesn't
Mike.
bowl in the winter.
Yes, that's good.
On a serious note, does Malden fall any differently in the summer compared to, during the year?
Yes.
Considerably.
It does, because they don't get juiced in the summer. During the winter, unfortunately, we have a guy that works there that likes to overdo it with the spray, and he likes to spray the plates, and then when he does spray the plates, he doesn't like to wipe them down, and it becomes a major problem during the winter,
Especially when he does it at 5 p.m. before we come in at 8.
Yep. And luckily for the lanes that we bowl on, I think he finally got the hint to leave us alone after, I'll just say it, bitching and moaning every week at him to leave our lanes alone, that he finally has. And it's been a lot more honest the last 5 or 6 weeks there for us. But the other lanes are noticeably different when he's doing them. Like, you could pretty much, a lot of backdoor bullcrap.
Well, to give an example, Mike, I think it was your brother this past week or 2 weeks ago, something like that. He was approaching the lane or approaching the line, and during his backswing, he totally lost the ball. I don't know if it's because he lost his grip or maybe the ball was saucy.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I've never seen him do that before.
Yeah, but
I mean, it hit my dad in the elbow, and he was 2 lanes to the left
and
of
it
him.
hit Anna.
So, I mean,
It also hit Anna, Rich's wife, in the
Yeah.
shoulder. So you got a variety of reasons why houses should not be juiced.
and one thing is, flying balls.
Yeah, safety,
Safety
of course.
issues.
And also silly scores. Would account for most of the reason. But all right, B, let's
Continue on to the next team.
Yeah.
So we have partially a new team at Team 2.
But no stranger.
No stranger. I mean, Nick Zuffaletto is kind of new to the league. He subbed last year quite a bit. He actually was very helpful to me last year. I had to miss, to our team actually. Yeah. I had to miss 5 or 6 weeks because of knee injury, and Frank had some elbow issues last year, so he missed a few weeks.
Year.
And Nick was the one that filled in for us during that time, and it took him a few weeks to really figure out Malden. His ball didn't quite work the first couple weeks, but after probably about the 3rd or 4th time he bowled there, he started to light it up like he can and started to throw the big 620s, 630s more. And he's bowling with Nick Norcross, and Nick is Nick. Anywhere he goes, he's going to average 127, 128. And it just doesn't matter. I believe Nick had the second highest series last year.
I think he threw a 700.
He threw a 714 last year.
Yep.
Did that, I think, in week 2.
Yeah.
We had 3 700s in the first 3 weeks last year.
One was John Boudreau.
I want to say Boudreau threw 2, I believe, in the first 3 weeks.
Did Ricci not throw one?
He threw on the first week.
He did.
Oh, he did. That's right. Oh, so it was Ricci, Boudreau, and then Norcross the first 3 weeks.
That's what I thought.
And, Nick's 714 was
Not
pretty
enough.
good. Not enough at all. It was good enough.
Oh, of course it was, yeah.
But Nick is, like I said, he's just a dangerous bowler no matter where you bowl, and he's lights out no matter what.
Well, I tend to think that Woburne's pretty similar to Malden, in my opinion. That's where
I completely agree.
Yeah,
I think the approach and the action are very similar.
Yeah, and that's where Nick works. So, He's got a good handle on that type of house, I guess, with that type of action.
You got anything to add, Rich?
No,
Of course you don't.
they're not the same house, guys. They're completely different.
It's no Candlewood, but you know.
You're so funny. I just don't think they're the same. I think the synthetic is different. I think the approaches are different. I think the action's different. I love that Kyle's laughing right now. They are different.
Maybe for Rich. I don't know. I think Miccichi pretty much bowls the same at Woburn as as we do, as Frank's pointing out Kyle laughing again.
Shite. They couldn't agree in the color shite.
Me, Frank, and Mike here all pretty much average the same, I think, at both houses.
Not even close for me. I told you, I was in the Pro Series playoffs. It was not good.
We've heard. I didn't even mean it like that.
Thanks.
Say we've heard.
Wow.
Thanks.
Wow.
They're
Okay.
different houses.
You want to comment on team number 2, Mike?
Nick squared, number 2. Moving forward.
Kyle, what do you think?
Oh, it's a great team. And you're right, Rich. I don't even know that you wouldn't even be able to tell that they both are Candlepin bowling establishments. They are completely different, and the action's completely different too. I mean, when I've gone to Woburn, I felt like I was in Georgetown, especially considering last week of the way that the pin action was. You're right there, Frank.
Are you comparing Woburn and Candlewood or Woburn and Malden?
I'm comparing Woburn and Malden to Georgetown.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Totally different houses.
Yes. Moving on.
Yes, okay.
Thanks, Kyle.
So-
Thought we were friends.
All right, so team 3, we have our one and only Brian Fournier and Mike Spinazzola, the big beast bitch. What do you think, B?
Well, it's not going to be the same this year. I love bowling with Mikey, but I'm losing my good partner, Frank.
Oh, well, maybe next year. We'll see.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
And, we got part of Team Clown shit coming over to to bowl with me, and Mikey's a great guy, and he's very competitive.
Fiercely speaking.
Yes, of course he is.
Can you elaborate on Team Clown shit?
That was his team name last year.
Yeah,
No.
it was no clown.
There's no
shit.
clown shit.
Mike,
Oh, no clown shit.
Mike will frequently call people clowns, and it happened during one of his matches where he actually called one of his own teammates a clown, and he was not joking; he was serious about it, and it happened to pertain to a certain handicap King of the Hill tournament YouTube show, where he was calling one of the hosts of that show a clown.
He basically was, look at this clown shit.
So as they were all bowling, said hosts were watching the TV show on their phones while the match was going on, and Mike was in the background because they were bowling.
Us?
We were bowling them at the time.
Right, okay. So we were bowling against them. They were lucky 2 at the time. This was last year. And Mike meshes very well with us. He's our friend. And he was saying, well, look at this clown shit up at the scoring table. They're watching the damn TV show during the match and stuff.
And he was more frustrated because they were in a close match the week before and they were on their phones like playing video games. And that's where it started. Is he's like, they're just these clowns on their phone. These clowns.
Wow. Well, that's great.
And that's
Yeah.
where we turned. And he also started using the term hand puppets. We can't disregard the hand puppet.
They're up there playing with their hand puppet. So this is where Mike Spinazzola shines. Is his sense of humor. He's a great guy. He's very competitive.
Very positive.
Yes,
And
very positive.
It's, I generally can get very competitive, as everyone at this table definitely knows.
Yeah.
And he'll be very helpful at keeping me more level-headed during the entire summer than, maybe some, me and Frank had our moments where we were both ready to kill somebody.
Yeah.
while we were trying to bowl.
But I think I've mastered the art of yelling at you now.
You have. But it's a little different when you're bowling too.
Yeah, right, of course.
But what do you think, Mike?
Well, one thing I want to say is, Mike Spinazzola is not going to win any awards for maybe high average or anything, but he definitely wins the award for best teammate. Bowling with Mike, you're down 10 pins going into any box at the end of a match. He's gonna rile you right up, and you're gonna come close to that string.
Yeah,
and that's one thing he brings to the table that some bowlers may consider that match lost, and Mike will bring you right back to right where you need to be, and he's gonna make you do your best in those last boxes. That's something I like about Mike.
Something I actually want to touch on that as him being a great teammate is it's very consistent. A bad string, he's about a 106, 107 in this league, I believe, last year. And a bad string for him is about a 94. He's not really going to, he does throw his 80 games here and there. But, he, generally when he throws a bad game, it's within his average. It's close. And that's a big thing because, a lot of times is when, for me, like when I throw a bad string, it's not a 115. It's a 101 or a 98 for my 122 average. And that hurts a lot. And just to have that consistency from that bowler, especially in a handicapped league,
yeah, right,
at 85%, that's huge. It keeps you in every match because that generally, if you're going to bowl well, that your teammate is going to be within reason for you, and it's not going to matter if you're not going to lose a string by throwing a 140 like you can in a normal 100% handicap league or a Tuesday league, whatever your general house fun league, generally I've thrown a ton of 140s where we've gotten crushed, mainly because a couple of other bowlers just can't come close to their average.
Right.
And with Mikey, it's always right there with him.
What's really great about him too is that he never puts pressure on himself, or if he does, I've never witnessed it. So he could be having a not very good string, as we would say, and he gets that mark in the 10th box and bails out with a fill. And like Brian's saying, instead of it being a 94 or 95, now all of a sudden it's a 101. And so he's 6 or 7 pins under his average. And it's such a boost of confidence building off of that fill. And, he is a fabulous teammate. And that's the type of thing where he bails out and doesn't even put pressure on himself to get that last mark. And then he gets it. And then all of a sudden he's just picked up 8 or 9 pins against his bowler and cut the deficit down for now Brian to have his 5 boxes and make up the rest. I know he did that for you last year, Mike. You guys bowled very well together.
We did. Done well the past couple of years, actually.
Yeah.
He's a great teammate.
So who's team 4?
We got Rich Lemon.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know why I found it to be humorous, but
I'll tell you the story about that in a little bit of why I call him Rich Lemon. We have and his partner Dave Malahan, or better known as Dave Hodge.
Sure. So this is your second year together, Rich.
Yes.
Pretty good team. They struggled towards the end of last year. They came out of the gate flying last year. I remember them bowling very well. Hodge seemed rejuvenated at the beginning of last year.
Yeah.
He looked like his old self.
Sure, yeah.
He was averaging. He actually, the whole year he ended up being really, really good because he averaged just over 120 again. Mm-hmm. And that's something he hadn't done in this league in a few years. And it was nice to see because he'd always been around that 120 average in this league when he had bowled in the past. And I know he had struggled for a few years. And the last couple of years, he's starting to look like his old self again. And it makes him a very formidable team. We battled them hard. I had actually got lucky. I came back from my injury the week I happened to bowl them and went 650 and then was able to I believe, sweep Rich's team last year, just barely, but it was a fun match.
We were doomed. I opened up with a double 3 fill because I punched through the middle and it was downhill all from there.
Well, I think you bowled that match with Ed Woodside, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Because last year we allowed substitute bowlers. We're not doing that this year.
Yes. No subs this year.
So,
what you, Mike?
in the past when I've bowled against Hodge and when I've bowled against Rich, the one thing that I've seen about the two of them, even when they weren't teammates, is that if you go up there and throw a mark, it's not going to defeat them per se. So if anything, it fuels them. So it's almost like you don't want to mark because they'll wake up.
Well, to touch on that, Hodge is one of the most animated bowlers I've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely.
He doesn't bowl well unless he's into it. He gets himself all fired up and pumped up, which is awesome. That's the type of thing you want to see. So I know exactly what you're saying, Mike.
Yeah. But both really good bowlers, and
one really good bowler, one mediocre.
I don't know this Rich Lemon.
Okay, next team. Team 5 is Dawn Page and Maria Mazzarella. Like we were saying, they placed second last year only because of head-to-head record. Record or pinfall? I forget. Record. Okay. So
if there had been a tie in that, then it would have been head-to-head pinfall.
Pinfall.
Tough thing with our 7-point system is it's very tough to go 3.5 points. So
right.
Generally wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Tough team, very tough.
Very competitive.
They're yes. I think every week they're just in it. I don't remember them losing a lot of points.
Yeah, they show up.
Generally they were taking 3 or 4 no matter what. They were never 0-7. Generally,
at the beginning of the year, they started a little bit slower out of the gate, and I do remember that. But Maria got into the middle of the summer, and she was like, "I want to win this," and
she's one of the most competitive
awesome
females.
to watch.
Yeah, she's awesome. And Don, very consistent bowler.
Very,
things work for him.
Humble? Is that a good word?
Say again.
Humble?
Well,
humble.
It's a compliment.
Yeah,
it is a good word.
He's not going to go up there being like cocky or anything. He was just going to go up there and bowl his best, and what happens. I like that about him.
They are probably
pretty consistent.
The most consistent team on paper.
Yeah.
Yes, Team 6 is Sammy D'Agostino and John Zappi. This is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, they're, I think, on paper in this league, they could be very well the most dangerous team.
Yeah.
In bowling at Malden. I've only seen Zappi bowl a few times at Malden, and he's bowled fantastic. And Sammy is Sammy.
Yeah.
Averaged 129, I think, last year, and
just out of control.
He's amazing.
So that'll be good to see him. And I know Zappi said he told me he's looking to get into this league because he wants to get his game back. He feels as though he's struggling, but I feel as though he's still, John Zappi.
He's still working off an injury too.
That's true. That's true. He did have.
He may not be 100%.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right, we move on to Team 7. We have Tony Iannuzzi, another big beast bitch, with Rich Kochi, who I understand is the Disco Duck.
So we got the clown and the duck bowling together. Tony bowls phenomenally well in this league in the summer.
Yeah, he does.
Lets his head get into him a little bit too much, I think, at times in this league. Generally doesn't feel that, he feels like sometimes he bowls too high of an average to win in this league, but I think that's just on his head. He's an amazing bowler and should just throw his ball. And
yeah.
I've noticed with him too that sometimes he can beat himself up and feel defeated, but if he had a strong finish in a match, he might come back if the other bowler doesn't do so well. And I think, a match isn't over until that 10th box. You gotta bowl 10 consistent boxes and don't let your head get into it.
You're hitting the nail on the head, Mike. So
thank you.
Good
hitting the cap of the wood.
Right. Yes.
Oh, that's a good one.
Cap face. So, okay, Team 8, Mike Regal and Jay Kovitz. This is a new team, isn't it?
This is a brand new team, yes. Jay had contacted me the year prior, actually.
Yeah.
Interested in bowling, and at the time we had just had a full house, and we just couldn't add him. And then I told him I would keep him in mind for the following year if something opened up, and something did. And this team, very consistent on paper. Mike and Jay, very consistent bowlers. They're just going to be. I think they're just going to be very tough every match, just like Don and Maria. They're going to be a very consistent team, I feel.
I have a feeling that Jay could be the most explosive bowler on this list. He could throw some incredible hammers in Malden, and his score could just go crazy.
I would tend to agree with that. Jay is how many strikes have we seen Jay throw over the years? He threw a 5-bagger at Beverly. He's just a great bowler. I think he and Regal kind of complement each other very well. So I would feel threatened to bowl against these guys. Okay, so Team 9, we have Matty Penkel, which is good to see him bowling, and Mike Kane. Mike Kane bowled in the league last year with a couple people, one person?
Yeah, he bowled with one person, Jeff Dunn.
Oh, that's right. Yes, okay.
And then he went down with an injury, and Becca replaced him. So we had another woman in the league.
We did.
Mike, again, very friendly guy, great to bowl with, great to bowl against. Same with Matt, actually. They're both, they are competitive in their own way, but they're just great as far as personality was, and they're going to have fun feeding off of each other, I think. And I know they bowled the Hoffman tournament together, and generally they're both very positive bowlers, so they're going to be a very tough team. There's a team that I think even when it looks like a string's over, you can't count them out because they're just so positive about how they bowl, and they're just going to come back at you.
Agreed. So, Team 10, Kyle, we have our friend Mark Ricci and Bobby Schoen.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. What's your nickname for Ricci? Would it be the Scoundrel?
Yes, but it's because he is a scoundrel. It's not really his nickname. It's just who he is.
Oh, okay.
There are clowns on this list.
Yes.
Richie would be the scoundrel.
Oh, so that's just the adjective.
I suppose.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's a very descriptive adjective for him.
Yeah. We all know what Ricci can do with this place. He loves bowling at Malden. He was very enthusiastic about it last year. Did he throw our high series last year?
No, Ricci was third on the list.
Third, okay.
He threw a 7-12 last year.
Oh,
not to count anything down. He's throwing a 700 every year he's bowled in this league.
Typically, it's his first week. That's something I always look for.
I think
the first week of the league, he's always bowling next to me that first week, and I always seem to watch him throw that 700. And it's not like he has like one good game. They're like 5 high games.
They have to be.
That's a week one watch. Watch for him to throw over 700 that first week.
Yeah.
I hope he does.
I hope he does too.
I hope he doesn't. I hope he struggles mightily and throws
$6.99
about 530, 540.
Ouch!
Wow. You could humble him out of the gate. Transition into the summer very sluggishly.
Well, you said it, Kyle, not us.
That's all right. I'll talk to him later about it.
Okay, just prime him. Okay, Team 11, we have our winners from last year.
Reigning champs.
Yes, reuniting as Brandon Marks, Brendo, and Sonia Hutchinson.
Another Brandon, he just always, the last 5 it just seems like he owns the last 5 boxes. He'll come out and he'll stay with you the first 5. He'll feel like he almost lets you think you're gonna win, and then those last 5 boxes he comes out firing. And all of a sudden, you sit there and you're like, I got a 15-pin lead. That's going to be easy to hang on to. And then as soon as Brandon gets up there, it's like strike, spare, strike. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, man, I'm down 10.
Right.
Sonia, very consistent last year, throwing, I believe she had a 103 or 104 average.
Something like that,
last
very
year.
good.
Sonia's the reason I liked having women in this league last year. I'd never heard of her before. And this year I'm excited to watch her again. She was a great bowler, and when she bowled every week, she bowled fairly high. I never saw her a week where she didn't have it. She was always fairly close to her average.
Yeah,
so that'll be exciting to watch.
She throws a great ball.
Yeah,
works very well at Malden.
Yeah.
They both bowl great at Malden.
And we should mention that Brendan Marks is the son of Maria Mazzarella, and their competitiveness is in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, he'll never be as good as she is.
Thank you very much, Rich, for that commentary. So, Team 12, Bobby Doherty Jr. and Billy Silva, 2 house bowlers, but Bobby Doherty is now a pro bowler. He's on full-time with Malden 2 and Dennis Nuzzo out there. I'm not sure how they placed last year.
They did all right, actually. They were 5th last year.
Okay.
They're a team that you can overlook when you go to Malden. They're just one of those teams that you look at their averages and they don't jump out at you, but Bobby's improved over the last couple of years. Billy, from what I remember, 2 years ago was a low 90s bowler.
Yeah.
And I think last year he was about a 104, 105. So he had a pretty big improvement last year. And he can throw some big games. And I will say that I think last year he had a 670 something last year for a 106 bowler.
I remember that.
I believe he did. Of course, he did it against his partner's father, Bobby Doherty Sr., and we all know how fun that is. Bobby hates when that happens to him.
Yeah, well,
but
it always seems like whoever bowls against Bobby Doherty Sr. throws their career high five.
Usually that's me against Brian.
Unfortunately, that's true.
well, so we'll expect to see good things out of them, some big scores. Team 13, we have our very own Mike Miccichi and Kayla Croto. Mike, where is Kayla from?
Winthrop. She lives in Winthrop.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we're sitting with the mayor of Winthrop.
Yes.
So that's
The mayor.
the mayor of Winthrop Pizza Center. So,
Specializes in his own sausage.
That was funny, Mike.
Oh.
so how convenient is that we're with the mayor of Winthrop? Mike, I don't know much about her. She's all over Facebook in terms of the bowling community.
Right. Well, the reason I've asked her is whenever I've done a Central Parks doubles tournament, I've always bowled with her, and we always generally bowl pretty well together.
Okay.
She's a great teammate. Never count us out when she's part of my duo, because she'll pump you up, she'll get you going, and she'll surprise you too, and she'll throw a big game in your face. That's what I'm excited to see too. Another women bowler, and she'll be great.
I just like to say that she's coming from Central, so to see her bowl in Malden, she's probably going to bowl better.
Right.
That 92 will probably turn into a 98 very easily, if not higher.
Yeah. One thing we see with bowlers who typically bowl 90s during a regular league, they come around all these pros and they tend to bowl better because it's not so much. It's a pretty competitive league. So yeah, I'll probably see her bowl a little bit better this year in the summer.
Very good. Well, we look forward to that. So, Team 14, we have Jay Shiner and Glenn Ringdahl. Glenn is he works at Ryan Family Amusements.
He is the manager of Ryan Family, pretty much Dan's right-hand man, owner. Glenn's a great guy. He's been very helpful. Again, like I said, he helps get money into this league.
He makes a lot of things possible for us.
Always looking to help us out. And generally, if we didn't have him, this league wouldn't exist anymore.
Another great teammate.
Yeah, he's very positive. He's another one's very consistent. Doesn't throw really bad games. And he's bowling with our partner, our teammate, Jay Shiner.
Jay Shiner of Malden 1.
I will say that both of these guys had different partners at the beginning of last year, and due to circumstances with Glenn's partner and then Jay's partner getting hurt, they actually they combined their team. And had a huge run once they actually got together. They were both struggling in the standings with their other teammates, and when they joined, they put a nice little run on. They were looking at last place, and they jumped up 4 spots from that. Yeah. In only the last 6 weeks they did it, and it was very. So they're going to be a very dangerous team, I think, if they put that together again.
Yeah, I think that turned out to be pretty beneficial to both of them. So, ending happily, and gladly enough, they're bowling together this year. So good luck to Jay and Glenn. Team 15, we have a big team, Mr. Jonathan Boudreau and Louis Gacharna.
We have our high average, our high series, and our high. Did he throw our high single? He did. He threw our high single as well.
These two guys bowled together last year. Same team.
Boudreau last year with a 724. And he had a 175 high single, and his average, I believe, was 130. So again, he's going to be looking to carry the load again, I think.
Yeah.
But in a handicap league, it's tough when you're a 130 bowler and he knows he has to bring it every week. But
Sure.
if there's anyone that can, it's Jonathan Boudreaux.
That's very true.
And his partner's very consistent. No really big strings from Lewis, but pretty much around his 111 average.
There was one week he went off. He had like 660
I do
something.
remember that. Yeah, he bowled very well one week.
But yeah, for the most part, it's Boudreaux who's gonna decide whether you win or lose that match.
Yeah, that's all right. Then we have Team 16, Kevin Nickerson and Kevin Caples. These are two house bowlers. Brian and Mike are very familiar with them. What do you guys think?
They're two guys that are just there for the fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
We bowl with me and Rich actually bowl. Well, me, Rich, and Mike actually bowl with them on Tuesday nights. That's how they found out about the league. We were looking for teams, and they wanted to bowl together, and said sure. And I explained to them. I was like, you guys are going to be one of the lower average teams out there. It is a competitive, very competitive league. Are you sure you want to bowl? And Kevin were like, absolutely. We can only get better if we bowl against the best. And
they, to add to that, they have improved. I think.
Yes. Kevin Caples has, I think, raised his average almost 6 pins in the last 3 years.
Wow.
He was a 92 bowler, I believe, with you a few years ago, Rich. Yeah. And Kevin Nickerson, even him, was about a 92, and he's up to about a 97 now. They are improving, and with the handicap, I got to tell you, they're a tough team to beat every week. Especially when you're one of the top tier averages. They're just you can't have a bad string against them. I can tell you, I have a losing record against this team in the last 2 years. I have not done well, and that just seems probably because Kevin Nickerson seems to bowl out of his ass when he bowls against me.
Yeah,
but
every single time
he just he explodes and throws 120s against me for some reason. So again, one of the tougher teams if you're a very high average team that cannot take this team as a joke because they're very consistent too. They don't bowl very bad strings.
Well, that's why it's fun.
They are a tough team. They're an absolutely tough team. And Kevin Caples, I was on my team a couple of years ago, and he has an uncanny knack of if you have a shot that he's like, all right, what do I do here? If you tell him what you want to do is hit that right piece of wood really low, most of the time he hits the shot. He just always has to ask the question of where to play it. So, and he loves watching good bowling. So he loves watching all these guys throw these strings. So
yeah, even if you're killing him, and you hit a good shot, he's still going to cheer for you.
He high fives you. He doesn't even make his spare attempt. He'll stop, high five you.
Oh yeah.
Then make his spare attempt and miss because he just high fived you and lost his focus and wasn't paying attention to what he was trying to do because you just made a great shot. Oh wow! He puts his ball on the ball rack. High five.
So a lot of fun bowling against these guys. So for Team 17, we have Fernando Gacharna and Peter Penny. Peter Penny subbed in this league a couple times last year, and I understand he runs or at least does stats for the Tuesday night league at Central in East Boston. But this is a new team to us, B.
Yeah, I know Peter from when he subbed last year.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean. Fernando, I want to say bowled in this league 3 or 4 years ago.
He did with Matt Powers.
Yes, he did.
Okay, yep. I do not remember how they did. I know my team had a horrible year that year. I just wanted to forget about that year. They're another team. Peter bowled pretty well when he bowled with us last year, and they're a team. Be interesting to see what they can do.
I agree. So that brings us to Team 18. The last team that we're going to run down, it's Paul D'Antuono of Woburn 1 and Wally Flannery of Woburn 2. Mike, you're probably familiar with these guys.
Yeah, they're both Woburn bowlers.
Yeah. They bowled in the league last year. I think Paul bowled with Bruno DeFeo. Wally was with Scott Edison, and they've kind of joined forces now. So I expect actually I think they're going to take a lot of points.
Yeah, if Paul's healthy, he's going to do great because, I mean, he has a bad back and he has a bad knee. So if both injuries are fine that day, he can come out firing. But, if he's wearing that knee brace, it's you never know with Paul. So he's got to be healthy to bowl well. And that's like with anybody, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
With Paul specifically, I guess.
He did bowl very well last year at the beginning of the year. When Bruno was struggling at the beginning of the year, Paul was averaging, I think, around 119, 120. Second half of the year, whole different story. He just seemed like he just completely lost it at the end of the year, and I don't know whether he was battling an injury, like Mike said.
Yep.
But still, he's another one that just he generally breaks things up. Doesn't matter where he seems to put the ball, he can always seem to break something up. And Wally had a hell of a year last year. He surprised me a lot. Wally's a good bowler. Don't get me wrong. I've always expected Wally to be around 116, 117, but he averaged 120 last year, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can confirm that or not, but it was probably around 119 point something.
Okay. Well.
But I mean, it still was, at the beginning of the year, he was averaging well over 120 for most of the year. And then I think the last couple of weeks he had a couple rough weeks.
I think, didn't he have his gallbladder out or something?
He missed a few weeks because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that affected the last few weeks of the season for him or not, but he had a very surprising year. And these two guys, Wally last year was probably, a little bit better than Bruno was last year. Bruno had a pretty good year towards the end, and Paul and Bruno were, both teams were actually, I think, up in the top 5 going in the last few weeks, and they're going to be a very dangerous combo.
The thing they had both teams going for them initially was their consistency, and that consistency kind of went away as the summer went on. So hopefully they can keep that consistency together, and they'll be a very scary team. Very
good. Okay, so that is our teams. That's our roster for the Malden Summer Doubles 2015 League. And Kyle, we're going to start with you. Who do you think will be in the top 3 for or fighting in the top 3 for the top spot this year?
I'll tell you what. With this format being the 85% that we discussed, I have 3 teams here that are no particular order. But I have Matt Penkel and Mike Kane being one of the teams there. I also have Don Page and Maria Mazzarella. And additionally, I have Brandon Marks and Sonia Hutchinson. Only because scratch, totally different. You're looking at, you'd be looking at both, guys or girls that would be averaging, 120 and above. But something that Brian said before, which I think is a really good point, is that when you're a higher average bowler, you do need to bring it every night. And whoever you're bowling with, if they're a lower average bowler, they can't afford to have a bad string, because that means instead of, you're 120 or 130, you're looking to get 140, 150 just to keep pace.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of thing psychologically over the summer that can really be a drain on you, knowing that you have to perform at such a high level. Sure, there are a lot of bowlers that bowl in this league that can do that, but I think there's an element of chemistry that I think goes a long way in this kind of league. That's why I went with those 3 teams.
Okay, well, I think you have a good opinion there, because all 3 of those teams are certainly capable of doing what we've seen in the past. In the case of Sonia and Brandon, they won last year, and Donna Maria, again, like we discussed before, we could see a repeat win. So, Brian, we'll go next with you.
Okay. I have the same thing in no particular order. As always, I'm always going to pick Bobby Doherty Sr. and Tony Anello. Again, every year they're always in the fight for first place. It doesn't matter when this league was 100%. Last year when it was 85. Going into the last 2 weeks, they're always right there. I also have Brandon and Sonia also fighting again. I have partially a new team also that I feel Sammy D'Agostino and John Zappi are gonna jump up and put up a fight this year for the top spot as well.
Wow! So even with the handicap, you think they're gonna?
I just feel Sammy last year just so consistent, and honestly, last year he had a higher team average last year, and they were right up there, if I'm not mistaken. I think they finished. Let's see here. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I think the last week they struggled, so they dropped a few spots, but they were in the top 5 going in the last week. And last year, him and Nick Norcross bowled together, and they had a much higher average. They were given a lot more pins, and I think, even that 5 less pins with Zappi, and I'm saying Zappi's going to bowl at 122 in this house. I'm pretty sure he is.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a difference, and it'll be enough to jump them in there into the top 3 spots.
I suppose I could see that, so good call.
All depends on Zappi's hip, and maybe as time goes on, with each passing week, he's only going to get stronger. The ball and his timing will come back. So that's a great pick because, John's won a lot in the sport.
Has an advantage the first week because he's only bowling 1 league right now. So the only average I could base him on was our Pro League. It was our Friday Night Pro League. And
right.
He's only got an overall average of 114 that first week. And the reason that I jumped them in there over Maria and Dawn is because they bowled Dawn and Maria the first week. And to me, it sucks that that's the luck of the draw for them, but that's an advantage, Zappy and D'Agostino, and Zapp can walk in there with a 114 average against them. If they take advantage of that, that's why I put them just over Maria and Dawn for the top 3 in my spot.
It's interesting. I didn't even really consider who's bowling who in the first week and the way averages can jump around. But, before we move on, should we discuss how are averages being calculated for those who have never bowled in the league before? Is it 5 strings?
All right, so after the first week, so I take your average from last year if you bowled in this league. That's your first week average. If you haven't bowled in this league, if you've bowled on Friday Night Pro, I take that as your overall. After that, it's your highest league average if you haven't bowled in Friday Night Pro League. So in this situation, it's only for 1 week because after the 1 week, whatever you bowl that first week, that's what your average is the second week and going on from there forth.
Right.
So some of these guys like, Mike Regal, he's using his 117 from the Pro League. Probably going to be higher in Malden, most likely.
Yep.
But yeah, that's how I'm configuring it. So if you bowled last year, use your average from last year for the first week. After that, whatever you bowl is what you bowl. So if you throw a 700, I hope I bowl you the second week.
Okay, so Mike Miccichi, let's hear your top 3.
And without saying it, it's in no particular order because that's how it's been. So first team I have is Mike Regal and Jay Kovitz. Then I have Matt Penkel and Mike Kane. And then I have Jonathan Boudreau and Luis Gacharna. The one team I wanted to pick on is Boudreau and Gacharna. Last year, they weren't necessarily near the top the whole year. I think like halfway through the summer, something ignited them and they shot to the top and they ended up finishing like 3rd or 4th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a team to watch like out of the gate. They're going to get off to a quicker start per se, and they're going to have a great year. If I can pick on Regal and Kovitz too, bowling Regal in the past, I don't think his team's going to settle. I mean, if it's just the two of them, I don't think his team's going to settle for anything less than 10th. Because I don't think Regal will let it happen. He's a really competitive guy. He's not going to take losing easily. Not that we all do, but I mean, we're all graceful losers at time. But I don't think he's going to let. I don't think he's going to be defeated. He's going to rise to the top 2.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very much appreciated. Okay, so we have next our very special specialist in Candlepin bowling analysis. That's Rich Lamoni.
I picked Sammy and Zappy, and that's mostly because of their chemistry. I think of a lot of these pairs here. They've bowled together, but these guys have bowled together for years, and not just this format.
That is true.
So I think it's a type of thing where like they don't need to develop any new chemistry when they walk in the door, so they'll be ready to go. So I think they're going to be a tough team from the very get-go every single week, and then added to what Brian said about how they have Don Page and Maria the first week, that gives them somewhat of a mathematical advantage. So good luck to them to start. The second team, just because they won it last year, I'm going to continue with Brandon Marks and Sonia. They were tough as nails, so I can't imagine that that's going to change. And the last team that I think has a good shot is a dark horse that no one's mentioned so far, and I'm picking Jay and Glenn. They bowled unbelievably when they were together at the end of the summer, and I'd like to see what they do for an entire season.
Very interesting you mentioned that. I didn't even think of that. I think that's a good point. Both of those guys, and we were talking to Jay and Glenn the other night, Brian and I, after Friday night. They're both very excited, very pumped to be bowling together. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. All right, so I agree with. Did we all pick Brandon Marks and Sonia Hutchinson? No, I don't think so. But I think we could be looking at a repeat this year. I know Brandon's very fired up. Sonia, I don't know if she bowls over the wintertime. I have no idea. She may have improved from what she was already doing very well last year. But, I think that given the situation, given where they left off last year, I think we're going to maybe see a repeat. Maybe not a win, but they're going to be up there in the top three, in my opinion, for sure. Brian, I'm actually going to give it to you and Mike. I think, considering how much we both love this league, you've got the advantage of Mike now having padding you with a good handicap. This is your house. This is your domain. I think that you have a good shot at maybe going pretty far this year. So I look forward to seeing that. Another team that my third team. Oh well, not again in no particular order. That no one has mentioned yet is Wally Flannery and Paul D'Antuono. As Mike mentioned, they're both Woburn bowlers, and this is a very similar house as I mentioned to Woburn. So Wally bowled very, very well last year, and Paul started off very well. Provided Paul can start off that way, I think Wally has potential to kind of carry this team. Things may taper off with Paul, who knows? But, considering it is an 85% league, I think they have a good shot at it. So we'll see what happens.
You know what? It's tough about this league, too, is, you only get one opportunity other than position night to bowl against somebody. So a lot of times it really depends on the luck of the draw when you face an opponent. If someone's bowling well in the middle of the summer and their average is a little higher than normal, then the handicap's going to be different. If they're really struggling and they had a high handicap, they had a high average out of the gate, you have an advantage when they're bowling poorly. So a lot of it has to do with the schedule.
I agree, and it's not like you have two halves or 3 rounds or whatever. You do get to face each team once, and you really have to put your best foot forward. Otherwise, you don't have another shot at it. So we'll see what happens. This is a very exciting league. We've had people asking us to get into it, and we're maxed out now. I think there's a lot to look forward to. I think it's doing good things for the house. A lot of people appreciate this house, I think, because Malden wasn't really involved in much prior to us being a Friday Pro League team.
No, and again, great shout out to Dan Ryan and Glenn Ringdahl for helping this league move forward. Glenn is a big change in that with Glenn. He is very open to the idea of doing tournaments there, letting us do our double match for the league. Like that was out of the question before he worked there. And so now that Dave's out of the picture, there's a lot more opportunities at Malden. And, Dan Ryan is a great guy once you get to talk to him. He's, before you meet him, he seems like he's a little tough around the edges, but once you actually sit down and have a conversation with him, and he is all about business. He owns the place. He should be. That's, it's, you just have to explain to him in detail how this is going to help his business. And as long as you can do that, he's willing to do stuff for Candlepin Bowling. And it's something that Dave would never bring to him. So you always thought, at the time, you always thought Dan was a jerk because you always got the picture that he was the one telling you no. Mm. And then once Dave left, you realized who it was and how nice of a guy Dan is and how he's actually willing to help improve this game.
Right.
When we were trying to get into Malden with our team, Brian's absolutely right. Dave would block it. He would say, the owner doesn't want you to be here. These pro bowlers break things. And so I said to him, well, pro bowlers are no different than any house bowler that kicks a ball rack. I mean, we're not going to do that coming in here. We're going to respect the place. But I don't understand why you would say that, pro bowlers are crazy like that. And, once I finally had a conversation with Dan, and he said to me, you and Brian have run a league here for, what was it, I think 4 years. He's like, why wouldn't I want you guys in here? You can absolutely come in here. Yeah, you can have a team. Done. It took one conversation, and finally getting the person out. The bowling alley's doing very well. They're very busy on the weekend. They have a lot of, and good for them.
Even during the winter, it's they've got a lot of leagues going on. So if anyone's actually looking for leagues, generally there are open spots. Almost any night of the week. Wednesdays can be a little full as far as as far as trying to get on the league. But you can always ask. There's a few leagues on Wednesday. I believe there's 3. There's one that's really late at night. It's more of a just kind of fun group of guys. Just kind of. I really don't know how to explain. Me and Frank both used to bowl that league. Actually,
oh yeah,
it's about starts about 9 o'clock. It's a really late league, so
kind of a social league.
But there's 2 other leagues right before that. I don't remember if one is just women only, and the other one is mixed. But one of them is mixed. Tuesdays is always availability on Tuesdays. Bunch of leagues, whether you want to bowl at 6:30 or 8 o'clock. There's tons of leagues there. And like I said, they're always busy. They're always looking for people, and it's nice to, they're willing to accommodate too. And I'd recommend if you can get down there to even just try the lanes out. It's
one thing I want to touch upon is I just recently bowled my first year in the Pro League, and this league, it was a great starting point for me. Bowling with all these pros. I mean, this year, looking at the sheet, we have 25 pros bowling in this league out of 36. It's like a summer pro league. The competition is just as a Friday would be. So walking into my first week of the Pro League, I was used to the competition. Wednesdays brought that sense of competitiveness, and I'm not sure if it's the only summer league that Malden does. I've never seen anyone besides us bowling on the summer in Malden, but it's
definitely the biggest summer league.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I encourage any bowlers out there or non-bowlers that are listening to this podcast, if you have nothing to do on the first Wednesday of our league, which is May 13th, come on down and watch, because it's great to witness all these pro bowlers bowling. Even the non-pro bowlers, the 3 women bowlers are going to be there. It'll be exciting to watch. It really will.
The nice thing is you get all these guys in one house to watch. You get to watch all 36 bowlers bowl competitive matches every week in one house, and that's very tough to get together, especially for the summer, where a lot of pro bowlers take the summer off. It's really hard to get a group of guys like this together to bowl, and like I said, between the hard work that all of us have put in, we managed to do that. And again, it's all about listening to the bowlers. We take their opinions and we listen to them, and we not only just take their opinions, we use their opinions. It's one thing to take their opinions and sit there and be like, okay, and shove it off. But, once they offer an opinion, we generally try to accommodate that opinion.
Well, very good. So there you have it, folks. We're gonna finish it with that. Thanks to Mike Miccichi and Brian Fournier for coming down to be our guests. Of course, we have Rich Lamoni and Kyle Bruce as our co-host. But you've heard it straight from the horse's mouth. If you want to see good bowling for the summertime, we have 25 out of 36 pro bowlers on all these teams. Wednesday nights, 7:30 at Malden Family or Ryan Family Amusements in Malden Square. For my co-host Kyle Bruce and Rich Lamoni, I am Frank Face, and thanks for listening to Alley Chat.